Well, hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today, collaborating with other musicians, other recording artists, other producers online and bringing them together to make a nice, cohesive song that works. In our experiment, we brought in 8 other producers, quite a lot for our project, to see if we could make this work. We've got tips on how we did it. You be the judge. Let's get to it. I've got 6 tips for you that I followed when I was putting together this project. The first tip is pick a leader. It's normally whoever is starting the collaboration will take point on it and follow the rest of the tips as a guide for everyone else. The leader's job is going to make sure that there's a set of rules in play that get followed, and probably the one who's going to be putting everything together from all the bits and pieces and doing the mix. As I mentioned earlier, in our grand experiment, we had 8 producers involved, and the list of tracks was about 30 tracks. They had to be edited, they had to be placed properly. More about how to do that effectively in our next tips. Which leads me to tip number 2. You'll want to agree ahead of time. BPM. Are you recording at 44.1 or 48K? Are you using 16-bit depth or 24-bit? What style of music is this? What key is it in? Have a discussion, agree on something, or, based on tip 1, the leader is allowed to just set that up. Say what they want. Either way works. For our project, we decided on 83 beats per minute and a time signature of 6/8 because we were going to do something a little bit weird, not your normal kind of song. So for our experiment, I was going to take point on this. I was going to be the leader. I set the BPM. I made a few other points known about how I wanted this done. And the style of music we were going to do is something called a canticle. What on earth is a canticle? If you've ever heard Simon and Garfunkel, Scarborough Fair, sometimes known as Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. Acoustic guitar, lots of vocals, and you're actually hearing 2 different songs being sung at the same time. You might want to pause this video, go give a listen to that. Right about 1 minute in, if you bring up a lyric video, you'll see song 1, song 2 go by on the screen being sung together, intertwined. It's a really hard style to manage. We figured we'd give it a shot. Let me give you guys a 12-second example of the canticle we came up with. 2 songs at once. Now it's at this point that the leader is going to set up a skeleton track for the length of the song, let's say 3 minutes, a drum beat that keeps time, that he can send out to the other artists that they say, okay, well here's the time frame like a metronome that I'm going to be sticking with. Whoever's leading this can also do things like possibly come up with a chord progression and put those chords in on a guitar or a piano to be followed. As far as the lyrics, as far as the melody, you can look to your talent to say, oh, sing whatever you want, as long as you're in key with the chord progression I've set up. Because we were bringing in so many producers on this, I went a little bit overboard with the guidance. And what I mean is, not only did I set up the drums, not only did I set up the chord progression, I also wrote the lyrics, and I sang a rough track for both of the songs for this canticle. Just the main melodies. I did not do any harmonies. I did not do any counterpoints. I left that up to the talent. You will want to run a group chat. Maybe it's a thread on Facebook. Maybe you do this in Messenger with a group of people. But even with that, you probably want to set up a few rules. if somebody has a question for the leader of the group, they should really be contacting the leader of the group directly. That way you can have an entire conversation, and whatever the resolution is for that conversation, the leader can then put that in the group chat and say, okay, here's the track that was requested without the vocal line involved or without the drums involved that was requested. What it doesn't do is it doesn't jam up the group chat with 8 different people posting 20 things a day that nobody will be able to keep up with. I set a limit of you can post 2 things per day in the group chat. Anything beyond that, talk to me and I'll answer your question for you. Now, to do that, we actually had a chat group going in a thread on Facebook. That's where we shared the guide tracks in the various incarnations of with vocals or without the bass line or anything anybody was requesting. We also ran a chat group in Messenger that paralleled it. And the idea is if you wanted tracks and guides, you'd look at the Facebook group. If you needed something like basic ideas or what other people were doing, that would be a good time to look at the Messenger chat. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And when somebody is ready to export a track and send it to you, I always ask them, please start at the beginning of the song, start your rendering from the beginning, and give me the whole track. That way, when I go to put it in my DAW, which I'm running Ableton here, I can see that these tracks are lining up on the first count here. I may do edits later, like I did with this acoustic guitar. It used to be the entire spectrum of the song, but I decided it wasn't necessary to have it in the beginning of the song, nor at the end of the song. So the edit was something I did after the fact. And what did these guys bring to the table? Some pretty interesting stuff. A lot of it was vocal, some of it was instrumental. I'm going to give you 10-second clips of each thing that these 8 producers brought to the mix. First up, from Brian Shaw, who does a lot of work with MIDI recorded guitars and some real guitars. As a matter of fact, that Taylor back there, he's got one just like it and he's brilliant to work with. He did for us a nylon string guitar track, which became the foundation of this entire track. Very nicely done. Joe Breitenbach joined us with acoustic guitar. Here's what he sent us. Nicely done. And you can see he recorded the whole thing, but the edit here in Lavender, I do like the impact when it comes in a little bit later in the track, and then we go soft again, so you'll only see it in the center section, but a very cool track. For bass, we reached out to Wade Jackson. He's an upright bass player, and he gave us upright bass tracks, but he also recorded a track on a Fender Jazz bass with flat wound strings, and that's the one that we went with. Next up, we had a bonus track I wasn't even expecting. Fintan Scanlon. He was actually the vocalist that was taking point on song 1 of the 2 songs as the lead vocalist. And he heard some violin parts in his head, and he actually plays the violin. He sent us these 3 tracks. Check this out. Absolutely gorgeous. Kind of a Game of Thrones kind of thing going on. And while we're talking about Fintan Scanlon, here's the lead vocal he had managed for song 1. You'll also hear a low octave baritone harmony come in, which is also Fintan. The top portion pink, that's the high tenor part, and when the peach colored part comes in, that's the low octave baritone part that he also sang.
Been 7 years since her love has come back to her bed. Long has the light been gone from her eyes.
Next up, we had Evan Langford, who took lead vocals on song number 2. He had actually sent me 4 tracks, full, and chopped them up any way that you want. So sometimes I actually ran them in combination, so you'll hear 2 or even 3 of him at times. But this is what he sounds like on song number 2, one voice.
He marches through the night, the ghost of his father beside him, telling him he's coming home.
Then we got the tracks from Dan Rodriguez, who was going to sing harmony vocals. Check this out.
He marches through the night, the ghost of his father beside him, telling him he's coming home.
My boy can belt. Very cool track, Dan. And Chris Thackey came through with 4 harmony tracks for song 1. Very cool stuff. Check it out.
She waits with a candle and bread.
What a range he's got all the way down into that deep bass vocal. And when we put it together, we had something really cool.
She sleeps with a hole in the roof, and night will bring her flowers and sounds from the mountain.
She won't close her eyes till the moon starts to rise. He rolled up his gun in a blanket and
She waits with a candle and bread.
he's walking home
And it's
today.
been 7 years since her love has come back to her face.
Sun setting over the lawn as the
Light been gone from her eyes.
100 miles
The sunrise will come to find nothing but dark on the road.
he marches through the night, the ghost of his father beside him, telling him he's coming home.
She sleeps with a hole in the
Drumsticks and banners
and
and
night will bring her flowers and sounds from the mountain.
Well, guys, I had a lot of fun putting this together. Thank you to everyone that was involved with this project, our grand experiment. If you like this type of thing and you like this type of discussion, please come over to Facebook and join us on Recording Tips. While you're here, please click on subscribe. The more subscribers we have, the easier it is for us to lure in other producers into our little projects that we do here. Well, guys, we got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it. Hey, and we're live. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. I got to shout out to everyone that was involved with this project from our Facebook group, Recording Tips. And I think all told, we had 8 artists, 8 serious producers, guys from like classical backgrounds, metal, pop, synth stuff. All kinds of guys came together and kind of, it's hard to explain. They kind of let go of what kind of music they normally gravitate towards and do something like a Renaissance, just acoustic, very ballad, canticle thing. That is such a leap for any artist to be able to do that, to kind of step out of their safe zone work on a project and bring what the project needs to the product, so the end product is good. A lot of people are here. A lot of people are in Europe right now sleeping because it's like 4:30 in the morning over there. They'll get up and they'll watch the video tomorrow. But in our Facebook group, Recording Tips, we are hopeful that new collaborations of maybe 2 people or maybe 3 people start up. We want this to be the starting point for things that get seeded there. And everybody in the group loves this stuff. They love watching the progress, and they love seeing the process, and they love hearing the end product. So we kind of went overboard with this. We kind of said, okay, well, 8 producers, no problem. Let's do it. And let's do it in a style that really nobody is familiar with. I know Jarrett was in the group chat saying 6/8. And I know Urban F Productions, that's John Drummer. All the rhythm guys kind of were like, wow, you didn't just go 4/4, 100 beats a minute. And no, because that would have been too easy. But I think we made the point that if you can get a product like this working with that many people in a style that nobody is really used to, then there's hope for us. And we've got, luckily, Oren and Joe Breitenbach and I running the group in Facebook, and we help keep an eye and give help where we can. But don't forget, we've also got a great team of experts there, which they bring so much to what we're trying to do with helping people learn the steps of recording. If you're not at a level where you're really can call yourself like even intermediate yet or pro, now might be a good time to just put something out there and say, hey, I play some acoustic guitar, and my level of experience is, and be honest and get involved with, because there's other people like a piano player or a singer. Start small, build up, get better and better. And remember, the reason that I bring up that the group does have outstanding leadership and outstanding experts, you could always ask. And I guarantee you, at any time, day or night, there's always, 3 or 4 people on who've done this a bunch of times and can answer a question for you and help you get through it. They might even, if you want, join your collaboration and help you learn how to guide the process from beginning to end. So, guys, we're going to continue this discussion over in our Facebook group. I fell way behind with the chat tonight. I love to see this kind of turnout. Every one of you guys I know, and I feel like we just have such a great family to come over and do these videos and then head back into the group and then work. And speaking of which, we got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it.